Hey, David, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, my man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, excited to have you on. Tell us who you are, what you do.
Oh, well, let's see. As far as who I am and what I do, I'm basically, I would say that I'm kind of like the guy that people end up calling up when they've kind of run out of good excuses. Here's how I basically put it. That I'm the guy that CEOs call when they've burned so much cash on marketing that their spouses think that they have a coke habit. I
Okay.
call I refer myself kind of like rehab for a brand, except instead of them getting clean, I help them get profitable. That's basically what I do.
That's awesome. And I know you wrote a book a couple years ago about branding and really kind of, I think you describe it in like kind of four words, the art of differentiation, if I can say that word. Can you
That's
describe
right.
that a little bit more?
Totally. Well, the thing that was interesting was when I wrote and the book you're talking about is actually this guy, the brand intervention. That's that one.
Mhm.
The thing with that is at the time that I wrote the book, I had been doing branding for about 35 years. Now, it's I'm over 4 decades into it. The thing that I found was that there were over 6,000 books at the time that I wrote the book on branding. 6,000 books on branding. Now, if you or I were to go to Amazon under books and type in branding, there's over 25,000 books on branding. 25,000 on branding alone. And the thing is that there wasn't one agreed upon definition. So I was like, man, give me a break. The thing anybody who's been in business knows, if there are like a gazillion different opinions about one particular topic, there's always that to me is a red flag that basically says, okay, there's a missing fundamental truth. If there could be that many variations and slices and flavors. So I was like, all right, well, I want to get to the bottom of this. So I looked at what was it that actually was the common element that made me able to help companies achieve what they achieved. Um, and I'm a designer. I'm a writer. I also edit videos. I've written music. I mean, I do all these things. I've got a lot of skill sets, but it wasn't all of those were only as good as they served the brand. Well, if they're all serving the brand, so what's the thing that they're serving? And then it came down to this forward definition was the art of differentiation. Because when we're looking as consumers and people walking through, you know, destinations, places we want to go to, places we want to eat, this and that, the other, we notice the things that are different. We kind of gloss over the things that are similar or seem like a spin on what we've already seen or heard 1,000 times before. So
Mhm.
it's the things that were different. So it came down to that forward definition, the art of differentiation.
I had Seth Godin on the show a couple years ago, and we were talking about building brands. And he said, "Look, if Marriott came out with a sneaker, we wouldn't know what that sneaker would be like. But if Apple came out with a sneaker, I think we'd have a little bit more like we'd have an idea of what that would be like." So in that concept, right? Because everyone wants to build that differentiation between the other agencies out there, these other businesses that we compete with, and really just kind of be the choice rather than a choice. How can the agency owners listening in, what are some steps that they can do in order to do that?
Well, I think there's a few steps. One is that, and Seth and I have jumped on a couple of calls together, and so he always has very good analogies like the one you just described. Um, the first thing is that a lot of the brands, a lot of the agencies that I see, they're talking in what I call agency speak. They're using the normal go-tos. Now, if you're using a go-to, you wouldn't ever advise a client to, hey, by the way, use the language that all your competitors are using. Why don't we take a little bit of our own medicine? So that's the first thing. Second thing is I think that there's too much timidness. I am a firm believer in the fact that we have to be unapologetically bold. Stop being so freaking careful, right? that sort of, well, we don't want to say anything that may affect, you know what? Take a freaking stand. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to be divisive. You can be, or you cannot be. I mean, there's boldness that, I mean, put it this way, Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest fighters of all time, amazing with words and painting pictures and stuff like that. He brought people together. None of us felt like, oh, wow, I can't embrace. He was so outrageous and so outlandish in such a brilliant and inventive way in something that basically is like, okay, a couple of grown men pounding the crap out of each other. It's like not the most graceful your career choice, but he brought finesse to it, right? He brought panache to it. I can listen to him for hours, man, because he stood for something. What do you stand for? You know, and I can guarantee if I had 20 agency founders or heads or their, you know, creative leaders or whatever like that, and it's like, why? What makes you different?
Well, you know what they're going to say, right? My people, my process, my portfolio.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, now, granted, the educational system as it exists, that trained us poorly. I'm not going to blame them to say that they're responsible for choices we made later, but you know, it trained us poorly because what did it teach us to focus on?
Follow instructions.
Let's get one, it was get your portfolio to a point where it's really amazing, and everything was about your portfolio. What I learned, because I chose not to go down the path of taking employment in any New York agencies or any New York design firms. I freelanced in some of them, but I was like, I didn't dig the culture, the vibe, and all that kind of stuff. So I chose the entrepreneurial route. And the thing that I found is after after a few years of being, you know, an entrepreneur who dealt with the feast famine, you know, game of entrepreneurialism, I was like, what was the stuff that allowed a deal to land? I found that the more that I actually, if I was going to have an hour meeting, see the way we're taught in school, I can't get in there and show them my portfolio fast enough, because I know as soon as they see my portfolio that I've sweated over, they're going to see, wow, that's brilliant, that's amazing. Okay, you're hired. But what I found was after a few years, the more I sat, asked questions, learned more about what their challenges were, what were they trying to achieve, and usually I only had 5 minutes left at the end to show my portfolio. But at that time, they had already made up their mind. Was I the guy or not to hire? Because it wasn't about the portfolio being the most important thing in the room. It was about that person across from me. So just that skill set of learning, looking, listening, finding those little red flags. What are they not saying? And getting comfortable with asking those questions. It's like, hey, doesn't look like you're really happy with XYZ. What? Tell me about that. You know?
Well, how can you know, let's say we do a Google search or we go on AI, because everyone's going on AI now and asking ChatGPT or Gemini or Gronk or whatever fucking software is out there now that does it. And they're going like, what agency should we use? Or they're probably not even asking that. They're just saying, I have this particular problem. The AI model is going, hey, you might want to talk to an agency to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
How can they separate themselves? Because look, we're in a sea of Me Too agencies. Everyone looks identical, especially on their website. I hear the typical bullshit response. Oh, don't look at my website. I'm the typical cobbler's kids. And I'm like, really? Like, just, I get so frustrated about it.
I know. Well, I mean, that's like when you ask me, like, tell you about me. I mean, that's what I tell people. I mean, I worked this up because I needed something that was short and to the point that really conveyed the way that I will not color within the lines. And so when I say, hey, I'm the guy that CEOs call when they've burned so much cash on marketing, their spouses think they have a coke habit. Everyone goes, holy shit. They're like, that's like, that breaks the ice right there. It's like, this is not the usual conversation. And then I continue and I go, I'm like rehab for your brand, except instead of getting you clean, I get you profitable. And then I wrap it up with this bow. Think of me as the Betty Ford Clinic of branding, but with better ROI and no group hugs. So all of a sudden they go, okay, I'm digging this vibe. It's kind of like I'm anyone that knows me knows that I love good coffee, like really, really good espresso, good espresso drink, or artisanal chocolate and stuff like that. I'm definitely a foodie. I'm right, shameless and unapologetically so. But the thing is I'll know within 5 seconds when I'm walking in a place, is this the place or is it not the place? Does it have the vibe? Are they grooving? Are they in touch? Are they out of touch? Are they snooty? Are they this? Are they that? There are tells, there are things. So to me, I think it's a matter of ownership. Own the lane you're in, but own it. Have conviction. 2, 3, have the humility and to be honest and look and say, you know what? If you all of a sudden discover we sound like freaking everybody else because we are delving into AI and everyone else is delving into AI and we're coming out with the same vanilla bullshit, I'm calling it to me, so much of AI output is the Great Wall of Beige. Everyone is just blending in and it's not very inspiring. And the problem is that we've outsourced our ingenuity to a machine. That's the mistake. It's like AI is a tool only, and its value is absolutely corresponds and is in parallel with how ingeniously are we utilizing it, and not as a crutch, but as a tool to help with XYZ little things. But it is not a substitute for our ingenuity, our brilliance, our ability and willingness to say, why the hell not? What conversation should we be having that isn't being had? Then how are we going to have a voice that is unmistakable? These are the kinds of tough love questions that I think are going to, that's what's going to define an agency having a voice that's distinctive, that is unmistakable, rather than bland bullshit. A lot of the agencies, some of the agencies that I loved in the 80s, I think their work sucks now. If they came to me with their portfolio and they're showing me their shit, it's like they're riding on their legacy from 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just shit. And so they're riding on an old reputation and they're charging their $1 million for a rebrand or whatever like that, blah, 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 blah. It's like, but people are buying into the Kool-Aid of their previous milestones and achievements. Yeah. But I think that one has to be bold. One has to call bullshit. That's one of the things that I found that my clients love about me. I mean, even in my first conversation, before I don't wait for us to go through the honeymoon phase before I say, look, I'm going to be candid with you. What you just told me is useless to you and actually costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars in lost business. And if they can't have me being that direct and forthright right out of the gate, we should never be working together in the first place. So I'm not concerned about it.
Yeah, when I sold a bunch of services for our agency, I did it very simple, not always, only until I started winning, where I would actually ask more questions than they. And I realized if whoever was talking less actually owned that conversation, and I wanted to really kind of get down to them versus me. Like I would even send a video ahead of time going, here's the most common questions that every brand asks our agency. This is 7-minute video. Go watch it because I want to focus totally on you. I don't want to focus on us. You probably ask me some questions at the end, but let's do that. And then, then they were really kind of ready to buy.
No, I love that. That's wonderfully proactive. It's also, that demonstrates a few bits of maturity. One is that you had the confidence in order to know, hey, these are the likely things you're going to be asking. I value your time. So just take 7 minutes, grab a coffee, watch this. That'll get that out of the way. And the fact that you wanted to focus on them, to me, those are all wonderful, wonderful flags of maturity. And if they didn't jive with that, you weren't going to work with them anyway.
No, not at all. And I
Yeah.
think that's too, I always had the motto of there's no such thing as a bad agency client. There's only a bad prospect or a bad process. And a lot of times we would let those bad prospects in, which turn into fucking nightmares later
Yeah.
on. And if they're not
Yeah.
going to follow your process in the very beginning,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
what, like really? Like they want you to send the proposal and all the pricing before the meeting. Why do you
Never.
think they want that?
Never. Because they can in their wonderful illusion of judgment, you have review your numbers as numbers and not as actual outcomes and value. I mean, that's
Yeah.
bullshit. Never in a million years.
Yeah. And a lot of times what I would see, and I see this still, my clients will be like, well, tell me, what if they say no? I'll be like, that's great. You just saved an hour, or you saved hours of chasing them because they're just wasting your time. And what happens a lot of times, especially some of the bigger companies, I remember Hitachi did this. They sent us an RFP. What's your take on RFPs? Do you do them?
And mostly not, because it's like it's the same reason I don't participate in RFPs is the same reason that I will literally come out of the gate and I'll say, look, if this entire process is going to be run by a committee, we're not going to be working together.
Yep.
That's simple.
Yeah, RFP stand for real fucking problem, request for punishment, right? And we would always turn them down. So like Hitachi sent us an RFP. I basically responded saying, look, thanks for including us. We don't do RFPs. I don't think there's enough information in here, but if you would like to sit down for an hour strategy session with us, we're more than happy to do that. And we would charge them for it, and they would do it.
Yep.
So
that's the smart poise, because anybody who's been in business knows the greatest weapon we have is our ability to say no and walk out that door.
Yeah.
The weakest position to have is coming from a place of like, you need the gig, you need the account, you need the revenue, and hey, look, welcome to the world of entrepreneurialism.
Yeah. Well, things are changing so fast. I mean, what we were using 4 weeks ago is even changing with AI and a lot of the models. It seems like everybody has an AI app out there, and including me, right? Like, so I'm part of the problem here. What do you see? Where do you see everything going for the agency that wants to succeed in this new market? What other than, like, hey, we need to be bold, we need to be unique, that kind of stuff, right? What else do you see changing? Because you've been in this market longer than me, 40 years. I think I've been in almost 30. So, we've gone through lots of changes, but what excites you about what's coming?
What excites me, there's a few things. I mean, so one is, I mean, right now it's a very like you said, I mean, it's like, it's 4 weeks ago. I mean, and it's not the same landscape from week to week, freaking sometimes from day to day. So one is that there's going to be some shakeout. There's going to be some shakeout. Those that have been selling themselves in the land as more of a commodity and not understanding their real role are going to basically probably go out of business.
Yep.
There are a few who are doing some interesting hybrids, like, for example, Taki Moore.
Yep.
So Taki does some interesting experiments where he uses AI prompts in a very unusual way, and he kind of turns them into tools to help those who are probably not as imaginative to kind of shake out. And so I think that he's one of the more interesting innovators, or actually, I wouldn't even call him an innovator. I'll call him a smart, finding the synergy where these things can actually coexist, right? I think that he's doing some interesting stuff, and at the same time, and actually, this is a note. I'm just going to read this because this is a note that I wrote to myself because it's fascinating to see, because getting to a point where practically everything that we have been selling is all of a sudden, almost overnight, become commoditized at a certain echelons of clientele. It's like, well, we can just go online. Yeah, bullshit. You can't really. There may be an apparency. Yeah, but we just produced this 30-second blah 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 blah. Yeah, and here's the problems with it. Okay, it's first of all, it has no soul. It has no pulse. It's flat, and it looks like everybody else's shit. I mean, that's the bigger problem. Yeah. It looks like everybody else is doing the same shit as you're doing, so you're coming out with the same shit. Yeah, but we produced this and blah blah blah, and it didn't require a blah 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 blah. It's like you're looking at all the wrong moving levers, and you think that this output somehow justifies all that bullshit, and it doesn't. So it's going to become a little bit of we're going to have to master redefining and re-educating. Because it's not all equal. All output is not all equal. It's like, yeah, but we produce blah 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 blah. Look at the quality. Look at the and look at the lighting and look at the this thing and look at that. It's like, yeah, and does it? So that's where. So I wrote this note to myself. In this age of AI, the art of differentiation is more important than ever, and ignoring this will result in more noise and less signal. Yeah. That's basically what is happening in a lot. So much stuff is just regurgitated shit.
Yep.
It's rather amazing, and it's probably going to go on. It's going to go on for probably 6 to 12 months before it's sort of like the dust settles.
Yeah. I mean, I constantly tell people. I sent out an email last week. By the time it goes this, it's 3 months ago. So lots changed. But I basically said, if the year didn't end the way you wanted, it's not because of your effort. It's not because of the lack of what you wanted. It's because you've been doing probably the things the same way. And what got you here is not what's going to get you to the next part. And, I even started thinking about, because a lot of times, us as podcasters and consultants and that kind of stuff, we tell people amazing things to go do. But a lot of times we don't fucking look in the mirror. And so I started looking in the mirror for some of the things that we did. And, we used to do a lot on our YouTube channel, right? Like we put the podcast on YouTube, but a lot of times people don't want to watch the damn talking head, right? They listen to it over audio while they're doing other things. And then, we put out like helpful videos on YouTube. And I started thinking kind of like in your idea. And we've already shot a couple of these already. They should be on YouTube now. But every Friday, I always take off with a buddy. And we always call it Epic Friday. We go climb a mountain, we go rappel off, a canyon, go flying, go do something. And I was like, what if we start filming this? But as we're filming, we start talking about business and what allowed us to take off and what we're seeing with AI and that kind of stuff. So, we're trying to even practice what we preach of going, and could I create all that in AI? Yeah, I could, but it's not as fun. People would know it, right? Because you'd see the little VO stupid or whatever the watermark and that kind of stuff. So, sometimes when you're giving your clients advice, you got to take your own.
It's so true. But there's also one other thing that I think that gets missed quite a bit in these discussions about AI and such like that. And it's this: the greatest performers, the greatest leaders, the greatest entrepreneurs, the greatest athletes, the greatest artists, the greatest musicians, the greatest film directors were able to think for themselves and to think on their feet.
Yep.
Like the greatest comedian wasn't the one who would sit and noodle and then just like was able to recite it. It's like we recognize the Robin Williamses of the world. We recognize the great actor who, when something happens in a live performance that wasn't scripted and the shit has hit the fan, can think on their feet and work with it. That's skill. And that, I think that's going to, my prediction is probably in the next year or two, that's going to be organizations that have that as part of their culture, where they can think for themselves, where they have the ability to improvise, where they have the ability to respond and get creative and get ingenious. because otherwise everything is going to fall down to a transaction. Everything's going to fall down to, oh, I produced an XYZ. Who gives a shit? Did you delight the recipient? Did you surprise them? Did you actually give them something they didn't see coming, like you can see around the corner, and you were that smart? You were that insightful. That, to me, those are going to be the brands that stand out. Those are going to be the agencies that stand out. They're going to be brilliant. They're going to be proactive. They're going to be daring. And they're going to surprise and delight us. And that, to me, is the most magical thing of it all.
And that just takes time and consistency, right? You're not going to come out of the gate. You cannot start a show. I mean, I'm sure there's 1% of the people that have the most successful shows started a show like maybe like the Kelsey brothers. They started a show, right? But they already had a platform. They put in the work. Like everyone goes, oh, I can start a podcast and then, I can be worth this and get this. I'm like, but you didn't see all the work they put in for the past 18 years in football, building up their career and all that kind of stuff. Like people don't see all that work that goes into it. Like even when I started this show, I think the first version of it was like the Ask Swank show. It was kind of mirrored off Ask Gary V, right? Because I couldn't find my own personality until I did it like 2 or 3 times. And I'm like, fuck, I ain't Gary. Like I'm Jason. And I just do the show the way I do it. So it's just like, just go fucking start doing it and you'll be fine.
Yeah. And there's nothing, there's no prompt that is going to replace experience.
Yes. Oh, I'm tired of going on fucking Facebook and Instagram and it's going, here's the #1 prompt that you need. I'm like, just comment prompt. Like, I want to, like, if I could send like a virtual gun to them, I would.
No, I know it. It is, if you were to take an inventory, you go, okay, you look at social media, what percentage is talking about AI or something AI related? And I don't know, what is it? Probably about 4 to 1, 5 to 1,
I mean,
against something that's just not related to that, but it's actually devoted to the human experience. I mean, that's, if you look at my shit of late on LinkedIn, I'm just talking, it's not, to me, it's not a war, but it's the factor of you can go down the AI route, but here's what you're forfeiting, just in case you're interested in. Just it lacks pulse, it lacks definition, it lacks differentiation, and different. At the end of the day, different is better than better. That's the thing that people have to realize. It's like everyone's coming to the party. Every agency, every product, every service is coming to the party. And it's like, here's why we're better. Here's why we're better. Better. Simpler, faster, this or that, or just ER, add ER to any freaking word you want. And it's like, if someone's playing that card. So that's why different is better than better, because we will notice the stuff that's different. We will introduce, like my favorite part, you talked about like negotiations and stuff like that a little bit earlier. My favorite part, I love when I'm in meeting a prospect for the first time and we're talking, they're finding out about me, I'm finding out about them. And I love when this happens. Somewhere into the conversation, they lean back a little bit, their hands go across their chest, they say, so David, blah, 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 blah. And now they ask some question. And I'm smiling my ass off because I know, oh, that question came from so-and-so's YouTube. Right? Or that question came when they actually listened to this TED Talk, or that question came from, and here's my pivot. I say, look, actually, first of all, I thank you for that question. I appreciate you asking that question. But the question you should really be asking is blah, blah, blah. And that's always what happens. Then they sit back and they go, huh. We never thought of that. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
And
tell me, David, why are you? My favorite one is, tell me, David, why are you so expensive? And I'll be like, well, you're asking the wrong question. You should be asking, why is everyone else so cheap?
I love it. I love it.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Well, tell us the name of the book again.
Well, there's 2. I mean, the first one was the brand intervention, right? And Damon John wrote the forward to it, cool. And it's full color, hardcover. It's fantastic, and the font is big. Font is 36 point, my
I
man.
only read pop-up books. Is it a pop-up book?
36
Oh, I like
point.
the big fonts too.
I know. It's 36 points in text throughout the book. And then the follow-up, you'll love the follow-up title. The follow-up is, so brand invention is all about really the fundamentals of what it takes to really create a brand. And people, it's become a Bible to a lot of people. This has changed our entire business. The follow-up I came out with last year is this, and this is all about the people. Rich brand, poor brand, how to unleash your David in a world of Goliaths.
Oh, I like that.
And so this one, and Claude Silver from Gary Vaynerchuk wrote the forward, and that's about the people side. It's like the culture side. It's almost like what I tell people is I say, you know what? Disengaged teams build disengaged brands.
Awesome.
And people are like, holy shit, that's kind of true. Yeah, it's really freaking true. More true than you know. And it's costing you a bundle. If you're running an agency or a culture, or you have an in-house marketing department, whatever, and you have disengaged, if people don't have each other's back, it's the exact reason why when Michael Jordan was always an A player, but it wasn't until he actually said, okay, how do I make the team better? Once he asked that question, did he completely elevate to a whole new level? And that's really what this book is about.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show, and everyone listening. Make sure you go check out those 2 books, and also make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Jason Swank so you can watch the Epic Fridays and the cool business advice that we go and just see the fun adventures of me almost dying, which always gives Greg epic laughs. So you guys can get epic laughs and have some fun and learn something doing it. And until next time, have a swank day. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you want more content like this, make sure you click on the link on the screen or check out your most popular podcast platform where the full episode is there. And until next time, have a swank day. What are you doing? Go check it out. Click on the link. I'll see you soon.